Welcome to Baker's channel where stories unfold, covering trials, dramas untold. Grab your seat, settle in, start the show. Courtroom clashes, the fun we bestow. Baker's channel, action's hot, dramas and fun, all we got. Discuss, debate, break it down. Baker's channel, just the best in town. Lawyers spar, tensions high, sparks fly. We laugh, we learn, dive into the why. Join the chat, have your say, it's your place too. Every twist, we're here for you. Baker's channel, action's hot, draws and fun, all we got. Discuss, debate, break it down. Baker's channel, just the best in town. Join the crowd. Baker's channel, we're live and loud.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whoever you are. What, if any, you are? And Jamie, what, if any, are you today?
I'm good.
Jamie is good. What more could you ask for, being good?
Mm-hmm.
How's the birds?
It's too hot out, so they're just, the windows are shut today. Hopefully they're okay.
Well, Dave killed all the birds. No, Jamie killed all the birds. Dave. I love the gravy. I can't eat gravy. I'm too fat.
Oh my God.
Hey, Mac and Sue and Helen from Holland. Ernie Bright, Carlene, all the cool people are here today. Medita. Hey, TD.
Hey, guys.
Mr. Fedorowski. Today, we are, of course, focusing on the Karen Reid hearing today at 2. But there was a surprise little nugget in the Ashley Benefield case that we are going to start tomorrow, because Friday they filed some motions, and they were arguing them today before they went on to do the jury selection, because they have jury selection. We hope to start tomorrow. It's a short snippet, and then after that there's another hearing that I wanted to play for you where they try to suppress some evidence, which is also quite good. So it's going to be a shorter, well, it's my streams, it's going to be a short Baker stream, which would be 48 to 72 hours, but that's what we're going to do in the morning. And then Jamie will take a rest break, put on the big eyelashes, and get ready for Karen Reid part, I don't know, part 30, 40 something, because there will be the hearing today, and Bev will rule everything in favor of the state. But today should be the date that they set a new trial date, which should be within a year, because there must be a new trial date within a year from the final verdict in the first trial. So that will be before July 1st next year, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Grumpy Granny from Donald, Australia. You're kind of like Americans. You ran out of good names and you just made stuff up. And Dehe is planning to go to the trial Wednesday and Friday. Well, as I said earlier, you were the one who asked if you could be my in-house court reporter. If you want to jump on and just get me a way to get you a link, and you can be what's the guy's name from the AHJDK? You can call in and talk about what you experienced. You can be my Dr. G. Say, well, juror number 5 was scratching his nose 3 times, so he was clearly guilty.
Yeah.
just make up
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, 70 potential jurors to go through. That's what we heard in the last notion. They alerted 500 people. So that's going to be interesting. Chrissy has her big eyelashes on today. Well, Jamie will have bigger. If you've seen that meme with the girl with the tarantulas, Jamie is calling that Tuesday.
They are very voluptuous right now.
Thank you so much, Sean Bird. You're beautiful too. Hey, Norma. My cat's butt is driving everyone out of the house. I get the big TV. Gracias, el gato. That's cat in Spanish, Jimmy.
Oh Lord. Here we go. He
I have.
watched a movie yesterday and now he thinks he is in it to win it.
What if any will bake her eat cheesecake at 100,000 subs? At 100,000 subs, I will go back to Los Estados Unidos. That's the Americas in English, Spanish, Jimmy, and eat cheesecake. I would eat bland cheesecake, the worst cheesecake in the world.
Mm.
Hey, Betsy, but that's a long way away. I'm never gonna get there. Little gambler, no spoilers. DH, thank you. I need a Dr. D because after that, Marissa will do the weekly horoscope to tell us what, if any, things the star signs say about the jurors.
Yep.
It's the same scientific basis. Hey, Gaga, 25 Celsius. It's been raining all. I had a plumber over to. I lost all the power on my hot water. I was like, that's annoying. Can't take a shower. And because of the HOA, I had to call the head of it and said, "Can you get me a plumber?" And that was that. He'll be there between 9:30 and 12. Okay, well, that's my plans then. And
I hate that.
well, he was actually there at 8:15,
That's good.
9:15, and apparently
Okay.
something intake to the hot water heater had calcified so much that everything was just blocked with calcium, chalk, whatever you call it in limestone is what you call it, with limestone. So we had to hammer that out, and but now I have hot water, and apparently it's been building up for so long. I thought that's amazing how much pressure that my hot water can get. So that's been down a long time.
Oh wow, it's like it's
Hey,
like having a
Virginia. Yeah,
new
the only
faucet.
problem is because he's been messing with that. So every time I turned on the faucet, it was just yellow water. Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
Cindy.
hate that.
And happy Tuesday. It's Monday. It's Monday, right?
Yeah. Happy Monday.
Don't do the toilet Carissa thing where you think I'm having a stroke. Hey, Ria. Well, Jamie, let's get to the hearings so we can get out of here. Remember, audio is really crappy. I have the booster on, so don't yell at me. Jamie does that.
Yes.
I'm deprived of that assistance. So we would have to go back through a lot of more exhibits.
No,
I'm deprived of that assistance. So we would have to go back through a lot of more exhibits, and as I've articulated in our motion, the reasons why we
if you haven't figured out, it's because Jamie is the cool person. Everyone wants to stream what she's streaming.
think continuance is appropriate. That's our emergency motion to continue.
Thank you. State.
Judge, we object, and we find that there's no valid reason for a continuance.
All right, the question.
They had filed for continuous because he wasn't allowed to have his paralegal sit next to him. And the judge dismissed it.
I have is late last week, I don't know if it was Thursday or Friday, I received a motion I don't know if I have it in my pile. Under 90.702, Daubert for the defendant's expert. I don't remember his name, but it was referenced last week. So,
Ferris. Yes, sir.
all right, typically that would be heard prior to trial. Sufficient time for both sides to have a ruling and be prepared.
I understand, Judge, and that was a response really to what happened on Tuesday, because we thought we had handled it the appropriate way, and evidently we had not, and so I was trying to correct it. I did put in the motion that I understand it's normally a pretrial motion, but in order to not have Mr. Ferris have to come here and try to handle it this morning when we're trying to pick a jury, we have no objection to just having it basically Thursday, whatever morning he would be here, because the state has objections to his testimony on many grounds, and we have a fear that it's going to be a situation where we're have some kind of hearing when it's your honors thinks it's appropriate to discuss whether or not his expertise as a domestic violence expert qualifies him to testify during this trial.
All right.
And I'm sorry, sorry, Judge, I left out our other thought was some of it depends on what comes out during trial. And so it's kind of hard to handle it pre-trial. As we discussed last week, some of the other things are very difficult, and which is the other reason we thought it might be more appropriately heard right before he was going to testify.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
The procedural hurdle that raises is going to be if I deny the state's Daubert challenge, or whatever the ruling may be, but it's against the state, you certainly have the right to appeal. And I think the problem would be if we're in the middle of trial and it's late this week or sometime early next week, the difficulties that could raise.
We understand, Judge. I think we're past that point of we're at the point of we're ready for this trial to go and to get it through. So
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. Any final thoughts?
Well, as I raised earlier, not only did the court issue a cutoff date for motions, but both sides signed off on that cutoff date, and that cutoff date is long past. So this request for a Daubert hearing is beyond tardy, and I think the court should deny it. It's as simple as that.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I think both parties were filing motions and asking for hearing time well past the cutoff. All right, in considering the motion to continue, we start with although not sure all of these factors or elements were argued by both sides. Whether the denial of the continuance creates an injustice for the movement, whether the cause for the request was unforeseeable, whether the cause for the request was dilatory practices, and whether the opposing party would suffer any prejudice, injustice, or convenience. Looking at the Fleming factors, I don't need to make a great deal of factual findings.
Hey, Brandy. Welcome. Hope you're enjoying your vacation.
The main thrust, as I'm understanding it, from the motion and the argument today is the issue of Mr. O'Keefe sitting at counsel table. I think I've made sufficient allowances for him to be near and present, but not at counsel table. I don't find that there's an injustice. Unforeseeable or unforeseeability. Certainly, I don't think this is an unforeseeable ruling based upon the scant case law that's available and the fact it's a...
Hey, Claudia Quintero. Welcome. And please enjoy, hang around, talk to people. Most of them are nice. Don't talk to Dave.
matter of discretion for the trial court.
Yes, his legal assistant is O'Keefe. It's really confusing after watching Karen read for 3 weeks.
I think certainly both sides have noticed and can expect as experienced attorneys that sometimes the courts rule favorably to you and sometimes they rule against your position. And if there's issues that need to be brought up before the court and well in advance of trial, they should be. But when issues are brought before me by motion, I rule on them, and I have not been dilatory in my rulings. And as opposed to the other side, certainly this case has been pending since September of, or around September of 2020. It's now July of 2024. I think the state has every right to and is ready to go to trial. I think both sides are and should be ready at this point. There's been more than sufficient time for preparation. Again, the incident complained of and the information happened in September of 2020. I don't find that there's any prejudice from the rulings that I've made regarding Mr. O'Keefe and where he's sitting. So in addressing the Fleming factors and the McKay factors, based on the obtained factors, I will deny the motion to continue. All right, well, is that all of your motions or is
No,
there?
I have two left, Your Honor. The first one is pretty small and simple. I wonder if the court would have any objection if we bring in this with the mechanics of this trial, a very small portable table, so that Mr. O'Keefe can have something to put his laptop on. We can put it back there,
How big of a table?
like a little tray table.
Like a dinner table or a TV tray?
Yeah, the equivalent of like a TV.
If it's the size of a TV tray, I think that'll be fine because it'll just sit right in front of him and that shouldn't block ingress or egress from that side.
Very good. Thank you, Judge. My last motion, if I may.
Yes,
Your Honor, this is a motion for the court to voluntarily disqualify itself. And if
That's a nice motion to end off. Please get out of here, Judge.
the court would be kind enough to allow me to make my record, I'd appreciate it. This is an appeal to the court's sense of honor, integrity, and to the oath that the court took when sworn into the office that it now holds to support and defend the Constitution of the United
TD, I'll start and then I'll give you a recap when this doesn't take long.
States, specifically the Sixth Amendment right to a fair trial, and the Florida Constitution's Due Process Clause in Article 1, Section 9 of the Florida Constitution. The court's order of September 18, 2023, denying Ms. Benefield's request for judicial immunity. On page 26 in the third paragraph, Your Honor, reads as follows. Considering the totality of the competent and substantial evidence admitted during the Stand Your Ground hearing, the state has proven by clear and convincing evidence that the victim's homicide was not a singular act of necessary self-defense, but was instead the culmination of a lengthy, concerted effort by the defendant to eliminate the victim from her life and the life of their child. When the defendant's efforts to enlist the assistance of law.
What the? They took it down.
Oh,
I can see what happens in it, but it's now unavailable. Jeebus.
did you watch it already?
Yes, I do know what happens.
Good.
He is asking for them to recuse themselves, and they upload another video that's also down. I don't know. It's a new channel I never saw before, so that's annoying. I never had that happen before. No, he's asking the judge to recuse himself because he missed a deadline in 2023 after the stand your ground hearing. But he would really love the judge just to get out of there. It's another way to get a continuance because no judge would be able to pick this up and go with it tomorrow. The judge doesn't even answer it. He just waffles on. So the motions they got through was they are allowed an HDMI cable and they'll get a coffee table. That's the outcome they got today in court.
So it's not being continued.
It will
I did.
not be continued. They are on to jury selection. Jury selection won't be televised, most likely. Someone asked about that. J-Beans, I don't think we'll see a jury selection. Normally you don't do, and jury selections, they're really boring because it's just 70 people being asked, do you know this person? Have you ever heard about that person? Did you ever know this person? Have you read about this somewhere? So it's nothing. And you wouldn't see the jurors anyway, so it's really hard to do anything other than just listening to them say yes, no. I'd really rather go to work. I don't want to be here. Yeah, it's just boring. But the motions for the judge to dismiss himself was denied. But it happened the other day during the live. Yeah, but it's weird. This is a new channel. I just I didn't. Jody found it for me. Blame Jody, because I was the only one covering it, and now they took it down an hour later. I don't know why, because I don't know. Dehe, thank you so much for the $2.
Thanks, Steve.
Why do I call it Dehe?
I don't know. I heard. I thought that's what you said.
Well, Dehe is now your name on this channel.
No. Yep. That's your name now. Dehe.
Hey, Amy. Yes, jury selection is about to start. Well, it should be started already. Well, this judge don't want it, so he has to sit on the bench right next to him because it's apparently the bar is sacred, but doing this constantly during the trial is not at all annoying. Well, Dave, not everyone is as tough as you are. Hey, Space Stacy. No, Dehe. Jury selection in my town was like a high school reunion. Oh, that's nice. We have that on the first day of Christmas. I don't know what you don't call it that. The 25th of December, because we do Christmas the day Jesus was born, not like you Americans. So we do all the Christmas thing on the 24th, and then the 25th you have some kind of party at home, eat some stuff with your family, and then you hit town hard, and that's when everyone comes back to their hometowns and you get hammered. That's fun. Well, he on this channel, you don't make names, I do. I learned that from Dave.
He will mispronounce it in the most innocent way possible, and it will become your name, and
Yeah.
you'll love it.
No, it's not the new censorship. I just think it's a new channel who made stuff up and made funs. Hey, Gerda K. Or as American says, it's Gerda. In Danish, that's Gerda.
Mhm. Oh, Lord. Welcome.
But we still have that motion to to put in some crucial evidence. And again, I saw people yesterday with. I don't know if you saw Melanie Little yesterday. She did a rundown of it, and
No.
she was weighing both sides because this isn't as open and shut as the Karen Reed case because TD never heard about it. Probably that's why DE came from TD. This case is a woman who put two new holes in her husband. Basically, she claims she defended herself. It's a spousal abuse case, and the state claims she just did it because she's mean. But there's a lot of stuff going on because they had some argument over their kid. They were supposed to go back to family court 3 days after the incident took place. She had claimed earlier that he tried to poison her, that he tried to poison their daughter. No evidence was found of that. Their entire relationship was weird. They met each other at a political rally, and then they texted for like 13 days and didn't even really meet up. And then they got married. At some point, he pulled out a pew pew, took a pup inside the kitchen, threw the pew pew at her. So I don't know where. Of course, I always stand innocent until proven guilty, but I don't know where. I'm not sure on either side in this case. I would have to see the evidence. It's everything we have heard so far. Of course, he's the good guy. They always are when they're not here to defend themselves. But yeah, it seems getting married after 13 days without really knowing a person. They've been on off together. They apparently, according to her, he punched the dog so badly it passed out. According to his buddy, he pushed it off him and it felt weird or something like that. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So I think it can be interesting. You're a tinfoil hat wearer, so I got to explain things to you. Well, that's my job. He nicknamed her Ashley Oakley. Oh, as Annie, get your gun. Oh, pew pew. Boxing Day. Yeah, that's what the Brits call it. But we do have the other hearing. It's also a short hearing, but now we lost the other one. We can do this. This is a previous hearing. It's, I believe it's a couple of weeks ago. But let's get into it. He's streaming via Zoom for the jury selection.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're here in State versus Ashley Benefield. I got Miss Benefield here in person, along with her attorney, Mr. Taylor. Present for the state is Miss O'Donnell, and it looks like Mr. Foster is also sitting there with her. And I know we had several different things scheduled for today. I also noticed that there's a court reporter in front of me.
Sorry, I was just watching Recovery Addict. No, that's not what he's not covering the jury selection. It's some other trial.
Who hired the court reporter?
I did, Your Honor. I'm John Saman. I represent the witness on the motion to compel a discovery deposition.
All right. Well, can I assume that you do civil work?
I do.
So it's typical where one of the parties will hire the court reporter to be present. Just so you know,
no, I believe the judge mentioned when they talk about jury selection that did he say we will be asking these people to take a couple of weeks, at least a week of time. So it's not going to be a lengthy trial.
Criminal, pursuant to the rules, we have digital court reporting.
Yes, sir.
And if there needs to be a transcript, the digital court reporting office will provide the audio from this hearing to the 12th Circuit official court reporters, and that will be the official transcript. So you're free to keep your court reporter here. That is not an official transcript.
Fair enough, Your Honor. I read one of the prior proceedings, and it looked like there were some errors in it. And so just to be on the safe side, I wanted to just have something to refer to. But I do civil work, but I was a prosecutor for 5 years. So I'm a stranger in a strange land, but I still remember the language.
Understood. I just wanted you to know,
Yes, sir.
whoever hired her, this is not an official transcript.
Sure, it'll just be for my benefit then. Again, if there's any errors or issues that I have with the official transcript, I can present it to the court and the parties, and you can digest that as appropriate.
All right, the first thing that I have is motion to compel discovery deposition. And that's the state's. So we get everything in order.
Well, it's digital court reporting, so I don't know what he's calling out. So this judge is really good. I like him. He seems okay. He doesn't like the defense, but he doesn't like the state either. So it's good. And yes, Fedorowski, I was lucky enough to find it in Copenhagen. So now I can try to the way they implied he was shot was with his leg kind of in that position, so he could get the.
Oh, did you get one?
Yeah.
Aw.
So that's how the defense claimed he was hit in the leg, was with his leg kind of in a position like that, and then you had the. It's really hard to visualize going from down here and up. That's how they claim it could have happened. Him falling backwards with his leg in a really weird angle, and then the bullet going from the inside and to the outside. See, it's much easier than painting, Jamie.
I like him.
Yeah, I had to run from my meeting with my family to get it, but I got it, and I got my train, and I found out we had a Dunkin' Donuts.
I saw that.
Yeah, I don't like Dunkin' Donuts. Of course not. Hey, J. Ray. Yeah, it's a. I think they call them wooden croquis models. It's to practice drawing, but it's just sometimes it's easier to show on this instead of me painting where the injuries are to a body. Well, I hope it is, because now I bought it.
All right, let me just ask a couple of questions to make sure I understand where we are at. State, did you list Dr. Barbara Russell as a witness in this case, either category A?
AI did cover the hearing earlier, and then he just kept going because he will cover the Karen Reed later too.
B, or C?
I did.
Which one?
A.
Category A. Have you, was this deposition, or Mr. Taylor, did you take Dr. Russell's deposition pursuant to the state's listing of her?
No, sir.
All right. Did you, defense, list Dr. Russell as one of your witnesses on your discovery?
No, because she wasn't hit by Karen Reed. But I can position him how Lally and Paul claimed he was positioned, because that's two different ways. I need to name it. Well, we'll throw in some names and we'll make a poll.
Response.
I do not believe so. However, give me just a moment. No,
All right. But you were going to take her deposition pursuant to what? Your disclosure or theirs?
Mine,
All right.
yes.
So she's listed as a Category A witness by the state. So you can take her deposition. All right. Now I'm up to speed.
Okay. And you want me to go?
Yes, ma'am?
Okay, so I think the issue here is sort of multifaceted. I think with the argument about privilege that it's sort of twofold. So I'm going to break it down. So I know that my initial motion did not have some of these things in it, but we got the response last night, and so I have added some issues. So in this issue of privilege, I believe that there's going to be two parts. There is a waiver
You got a response to what?
to my motion from Dr. Russell's attorney. It was filed last night.
Okay.
You didn't.
I did not know.
Okay. Let me get it. You can print it.
Is that this binder?
Oh,
Oh, I just literally got it handed to me. I haven't even looked at it.
okay. So I think, just to summarize, I think most of this response has to do with privilege and has to do with the evidence code and the privilege, psychotherapist, patient privilege, and that type of an issue. And I'm sure that they can make their own argument, but that's why some of mine now encompasses that.
I have one motion to compel discovery deposition, and it says certificate of good faith is June 6, 2024. Is that the only one there is, or is there another one?
That's the only one.
Okay, I've got it.
Okay. So, and then today, Judge, I sent you a copy of a waiver that was signed by Ms. Benefield. I can hand it up to the court. I have an extra copy if you need it.
That I was provided.
Okay. So my initial argument is going to be about when this waiver was signed and anything previous to that. This waiver was executed by Ms. Benefield that was releasing information, including Dr. Russell's information, to Detective Warren of the Manatee County Sheriff's Office, and it was executed October 12th of 2020. So the evaluation that Dr. Russell did previous and anything up to when this waiver was signed, I believe is under a different category. The court, but it basically, the three cases stand for the premise that once an execution of a waiver has happened, that they cannot go back and unexecute the waiver for the information that was already given. So regardless of who uses that information at this point, the waiver was executed at that time. So my argument for everything before the date of this execution, or the date including the 12th of October 2020, would be that this waiver of confidentiality applies to that information. After the execution of this waiver, it is the state's argument that the relationship between this witness and the defendant was no longer a professional relationship that was governed by the psychotherapist patient privilege. And I'll just go through some dates. The shooting happened on September 27th of 2020. The defendant was out of custody for a time before her arrest. And you may need to ask the witness, Judge, but it's my understanding that this defendant lived with Ms. Russell before her arrest, when she was arrested on this charge. Then once she was in custody on this charge, there was a bond reduction hearing on November 20th of 2020. And at the time, Dr. Russell spoke on behalf of the defendant at the bond reduction hearing. And I'll read just a section, and this is kind of why I mentioned this in my motion. There are some semantics, I believe, about my use of the word professional relationship, and I think that Dr. Russell calls it a client, but I would see those two things as the same. But I'm reading page 17 of the bond reduction, starting at line 12.
Do you have a copy?
It's in the binder, sir.
It is in the binder. It's
Tab 5.
Okay.
And I'm just going to start at line 12. This is Dr. Russell saying, and she was homeless after the shooting, and the idea of her sleeping in her car or going from a cheap motel to cheap motel with trauma experience, I was very concerned about. My question to her, and that is professional with your line of professional ethics to put a client in your home. Her answer was, she was no longer my client. I had conducted the evaluation. I had submitted the report. I maintained contact with her because I knew I would likely have to testify in an upcoming injunction hearing. So there's more to that, Judge, within the transcript, but that's basically my argument at that point is this witness was clearly showing that her relationship was no longer what I would consider legally governed under the privilege, that this is more of a personal relationship. She has now moved this person into her home. I suspect that you're not going to get a lot of professionals in the area of psychotherapy that would condone moving a client into your home and calling that a professional relationship. So it is the state's argument that once this move happened, this relationship, that is evidence that clearly this relationship was more than just a professional relationship governed by the privilege. And so at that point, the privilege is, it doesn't attach. So there, quite frankly, doesn't need to be a waiver. The last thing, Judge, is just that section 90.503 is the section about psychotherapist patient privilege. And subsection 4C of that indicates when the privilege does not attach. And I'm sorry, but I was trying to find it.
It's in tab 4.
Oh, you have it in tab 4 as well? I knew you had a copy. Well. Okay. Under section 4, there is no privilege under this section, and then it would be subsection C. For communications relevant to an issue of the mental or emotional condition of the patient in any proceeding in which the patient relies upon the condition as an element of his or her claim or defense. And then it goes on, it does not apply. In this particular case, the defendant has made this allegation of domestic violence and domestic abuse and has hired experts in that field. So the state would argue that that section of the statute applies because this defendant has actually made it an issue in this trial. So for those reasons, I would ask you to grant the motion to compel the discovery deposition.
All right, was that your opening?
Yeah, sorry, that was, I thought that was my argument that you were asking for.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you want to make an opening?
No, sir.
All right. Did you want to make an opening as the attorney for the witness?
Yes, sir.
All right. And if you would please again, just introduce yourself for the record.
Sir. May it please the court, counsel. My name is John Saman, S-A-M-A-A-N, and I represent Dr. Barbara Russell. Your Honor, I think the best way to address this specifically is to track what the prosecutor stated. So she described category 1 using her timeline, and I've been provided with a copy of the document that she referred to. this document is not consistent with the requirements of CFR when it comes to HIPAA. HIPAA releases have to have a duration. HIPAA releases have to have specific information that's not consistent and not contained herein. If in fact the court considers that a waiver, then I would submit that the plain language of this waiver is very clear. It says, for the express purpose of, and by using the word express, there can be nothing implied. So the express purpose is providing information regarding my mental health, their observations and impressions of my relationships with Douglas, Benefield, and their observations and impressions of my relationship with my daughter, Emerson. This was executed according to this document that I have in front of me on October 12th, 2020. Presumably, and I am not involved in the defense of this case and haven't seen the discovery and don't need to, but presumably that conversation occurred with a conversation with Detective Warren of the Manatee County Sheriff's Office, where it says specifically in this waiver that Ms. Benefield was providing authorization for these parties to communicate with Detective Warren of the Manatee County Sheriff's Office. Not a deposition, not anything else. And I would contrast the case law that the prosecutor provided because it's different, especially the Hamilton case. What you'll hear as we get further into this is whether or not there was a complete waiver, where in Hamilton there was. But in this case, there is a specific limited waiver. And Hamilton doesn't say that any waiver is a full waiver. They said if you waive, you waive. But with the limitations contained in this document expressly limiting the waiver, I think that all parties have to honor that. The information that I saw based on the deposition transcript, which the court also has a copy of in the same binder, at the end of tab 5, the only individual who stated that my client had a personal relationship was the individual asking my client the question. At no point is there any fact from any witness on either side that said that my client, Dr. Russell, had a personal relationship. And the facts are contained in the testimony that the court has in front of him. I don't think it's appropriate for...
I don't think so. But I might do a ballet in the sidebars.
us to put words or intent into my client's mouth based on what she clearly said. I think the opportunity to do that was at these hearings. Well, could you clarify that? What do you mean by she was no longer your client, but you still maintained a professional relationship? And she's here today, and if we're going to have an evidentiary hearing, I think that's a fair question, one that I plan on asking her myself, and I'm sure that the prosecutor would as well. But based on the plain language of what they have in their motion, what they're seeking to depose my client on, and what my client is objected to, is based on a supposition that my client at some point stopped having a professional relationship and started having a personal relationship, which again, I submit to the court, based on the record that we have in front of us, there's no fact to support that. With regard to the exception, before I get to the exception, so that is the post-waiver content, because clearly that happened after October 12th. With regard to the exception.
So let me make sure I understand. There's no argument that any statements that were made by Dr. Russell to Detective Warren of the Sheriff's Office, those are in.
Well, candidly, Your Honor, that wasn't part of their motion. And so I was going specifically what was contained in their motion, and they only referenced things having to do with this purported personal relationship. So I received this document. I've had a chance to.
But your argument is that you want me to read this literally. That's fine.
Well,
I will. And so if I read it literally, anything other than the express purposes, I'm not to read anything implicit, just the express purposes, those are waived. Well, you said if it's actually a waiver.
Correct. I don't know that this is a sufficient waiver. And when this document was disclosed, there's on the top of this page, Your Honor, I would submit that it says Discovery 12/7/2020, page 375 of 1000. In the disclosure, there is a disclaimer by the state of Florida that says there are documents in here and there's information in here that is governed by HIPAA, and you are advised to make sure before you disclose it that you comply with HIPAA. So my position, Your Honor, is that if this is a waiver and the information gained by this waiver is bound by HIPAA, then this waiver is required to have the requirements of a HIPAA waiver, which I submit it does not. And to the extent it goes any further, I think that I'm stepping into Mr. Taylor's end of the swimming pool, and I think that's appropriate for him to argue. So I can't concede that point, Your Honor, that everything here is fair game. Number one, because that wasn't specifically what I came here today for, and number two, I think there's much more to uncover. With regard to the exception, I don't know that I have standing to argue that because the prosecutor's argument, well, number one, it's not, I don't see that in their motion either. But to the extent that argument goes towards a defense in this case, I'm not privy to that. And it has nothing to do with Dr. Russell.
Understood.
Fair enough, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Go ahead, State.
Judge, I would call Dr. Russell to the stand, please.
All right. Dr. Barbara Russell.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Hello, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Make yourself comfortable. Get about 8 to 12 inches from that microphone. Just speak in a loud, clear voice, and we'll hear everything.
Very good.
Go ahead.
Please state your name for the record.
Barbara J. Russell, Russell.
And when did Ashley Benefield live at your house?
From October of 2020, probably about mid-October, until I don't even remember exactly when. It was approximately 9 months, maybe just under.
And who lives at that house with you?
Myself, my husband, and my daughter.
And how old was your daughter at the time?
19, 20,
And how many bedrooms does the house have?
5.
And so I would assume Ms. Benefield had her own room.
Yes.
Did you see her on a daily basis?
Most days, briefly.
Did she use your bathroom?
She had her own,
It was in your house.
of course.
Did she use your kitchen?
Yes.
And just to be clear, your house is not a shelter or anything like that. It's a personal residence.
Correct.
No further questions, Judge.
Mr. Taylor, questions?
No questions at this time.
All right. And it was Mr. Seaman. Saman. All right.
There's a big difference in those two names. I don't know if you know the British show that's called Keeping Up Appearances. The lady, she really wants to be like an upper middle class, but their last name is Bucket. But every time people call her that, she says, it's Bouquet.
It's bouquet, yeah.
It's Mr. Seaman? No, Seaman. Oh,
See-man.
Seaman. Oh.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. You want to be called Seaman? No. That's Bouquet residence, lady at the house speaking.
It reminds me of like Joe Dirt when he was like, no, it's Deer Tay.
It's Seaman. Seaman. No, I'm not. This is the funny part because normally we go in hating one side or the other or the defendant or who. I'm going in really trying to figure out where to stand in this trial. This is going to be an interest. This to me will come down to how well they present the evidence. Poor Richard, yeah. I love the neighbor who always runs when he sees her.
What is this show? By the way, I don't want to get off topic, but what is this show again?
It's called Keeping Up the Appearances. It's about this lady who really wants to be, you know, like upper class British. So she talks very affectionately, and in reality, she comes from really lower class family. Her sister and their brother-in-law are these let's be fair, fat slobs who
Let's be fair.
well, they are. Onslow is her brother-in-law. He's always in a wife beater that's always really dirty.
Oh, grease stains. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, her other sister is a massive, very friendly woman towards men, and then she just want to do all these things to get social status, and it always goes wrong. It's so ridiculous and it's so funny. But I just love because she has whenever she uses her phone, she wipes it down. Everything must be perfect. And when her son he's at uni or somewhere, and whenever he calls home, he's always begging for money, and I think he goes through everything. At some point, I think he's gay. At some point, he's going into another phase. And she always it doesn't connect anywhere in her head, and it's just she's such an amazing woman. Okay, residents, lady of the house speaking. It's just yeah, and her dad is he's always getting into trouble because he's demented, so he just walks off, and they have to find him, and then the family comes to her to get her to help, and they ride around this banger of a car, and looks the way they does, and she really wants to hide that she's lower class. It's so funny. It's but you have to understand British humor. Welcome, Silverfox.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wants to be that upper class in the 50s kind of thing. It's very British. You have to understand British humor to really grasp it. But Danish and British humor are very much the same. That we take dicks that they lead.
I'm gonna put there you go. Yes, sir.
Dr. Russell, I want to ask you very brief questions because I don't want to open any doors. So I want you to listen carefully to the questions that I'm asking. Do you recall testifying at a bond hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall, well, actually, let me just get right to this. Do you believe that your interactions that have been asked about are protected by the privilege contained in 9503?
Yes.
Are you considered a psychotherapist because you are a licensed clinical social worker?
Yes.
Are all the times that and you've spoken with the prosecutor before,
Yes.
and one of the times that you were interacting with her was at your deposition, which was, I believe, was held in May of this year?
Yes, May 14th.
Okay. And you testified earlier that Ms. Benefield lived in your home for a time period.
Yes.
And you understand that you're here today because the state is trying to compel you to testify about your interactions with her.
Correct.
And do you believe that your interactions with her are covered by the psychotherapist-patient privilege?
They absolutely are.
Have you had a chance to review Florida Statute 90.503?
I did.
Okay. Is it your testimony today that the privilege that you are asserting on behalf of Ms. Benefield is being done so pursuant to the statute?
Yes.
Have you received any evidence that Ms. Benefield has waived that privilege?
No, I have not.
Are you asserting your privilege because the information the state is seeking includes information about any diagnosis made, any advice given by yourself?
Well, she's not an expert witness, but she did have a working relationship with her before she moved into her house. And then the state believes that it would not break doctor-patient's confidentiality. Oh, now I'm going to get comments again about how bad my English is, and I should stop screaming. Blah, 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 confidentiality. And that's what she's going to argue, that she can't. My pause game is on point today. That she is still covered by that, even though they had a personal relationship after. So everything said during the professional relationship doesn't go away when that ended.
In the course of your professional relationship with Ms. Benefield?
Yes.
Then he should watch my channel. No accents allowed on my channel.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect.
Actually, Your Honor, now, if I may, I have a question.
Okay.
The reason why I passed the first time, Your Honor, is because Dr. Russell is his witness. And the basic argument is between the state and Mr. Simon. But I do have a question, Dr.
I disagree, but okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Russell, through your practice, you're familiar with HIPAA
Yes.
and HIPAA's requirements.
Yes.
You're no stranger to it.
No.
You require a HIPAA release before disclosing any material that's confidential and comes under the umbrella of the privilege.
Yes.
Is there a staleness element to HIPAA?
There is a staleness element to HIPAA, and there's a staleness element to any type of waiver that is signed by any client of mine.
Dr. Russell, other than waiver that Mr. Simon brought to your attention, which was dated in 2020 of October, I believe, have you been presented at any time since then with a fresh HIPAA waiver?
No.
That's all you want.
All right. Now redirect.
Are you asserting this privilege because Ashley Benefield asked you to?
No. I'm asserting this privilege because it's a requirement of my license to assert the privilege, as I explained in the deposition.
How long have you been in this field,
30 years,
in this area?
since 2009 here in Florida.
So I would assume that you know a lot of colleagues that are in the same business.
Yes.
Correct. Have you known any personally that have moved a criminal defendant into their house?
I don't know.
Relevance?
Well, I think it's beyond the scope of cross, so sustained.
And you said you would require a HIPAA release, correct?
Yes.
That or a court order, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other witnesses?
No.
Mr. Taylor, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Saman?
No, sir.
No other witnesses. All right.
No, he's overdoing.
Yeah.
All right, state.
Judge, the only thing I have to add is that according to the rules of evidence for the waiver of the privilege, it has to be waived by the defendant, not the therapist. So I would argue that that is not a proper defense to this request to take a deposition. And I would also stand by my previous arguments.
Mr. Taylor?
Judge, I'll go first on this one.
Okay.
The statute is very clear as to who.
It's because they want her to testify about what Ashley had told her. She used to be her therapist, and then she moved her into her house because she was living in bad hotels, and she believed that was bad for her mental health. And now they want her to testify about what she said during when she was her therapist. So that's why they want her to testify, but she can't do that because of she didn't get a HIPAA release. And now that it's up for the judge, but that's why she has another lawyer. You have the defense, you have the state, and then she has a lawyer to say she shouldn't do it.
Who may raise the objection? It specifically says, and I'll just read verbatim from the statute.
Are we saying raise an objection or assert a privilege?
I'm sorry, assert the privilege.
All right. Yes, sir.
And it says here, under subsection 2, the privilege may be, it's 3, may be claimed by the psychotherapist, and this is section D, the psychotherapist, but only on behalf of the patient. The authority of the psychotherapist to claim the privilege is presumed in the absence of evidence to the contrary. So there's no evidence to the contrary, and so my client.
I think she paid for the first part. Living with the therapist, I haven't heard. I heard the same as you heard, so yeah. We'll always dress down for court. That's the thing to do. Yeah, that is a bit shady to try and force it, but let's see how it rolls.
Client is fully within her right and frankly required to do this. The other thing that I would point out, Your Honor, just generally speaking, is the evidence that you heard today has not changed from the evidence that was submitted to the court in the form of the deposition or the bond hearing. My client has maintained that she has a professional relationship with the defendant. She's never wavered on that. I think it would be inappropriate to have the state try to get the court to infer something else when those facts are simply not in evidence. The last thing that I would say is that in some of the case law that I provided, the courts have found that if there is going to be an involuntary waiver that's found, and clearly this is not a voluntary waiver, that it is not something that is common, and it's not something that can be invaded without an actual showing. The last thing, and I would talk about the reason for my motion for a protective order, is that the state hasn't established a necessity of why this testimony is required to a point that would overcome what is clearly privileged and what has clearly been asserted in a timely fashion. I won't add anything more than that, Your Honor. I know that Mr. Taylor wants to.
The only addition I would have, Judge White, is pursuant to that same statute which governs psychotherapist patient privilege, section 9503 of the Florida Evidence Code. Under section 3, as Mr. Saman noted to Your Honor, the statute states the privilege may be claimed by, and under A, it includes the patient or the patient's attorney on behalf of the patient. We claim it. Thank you.
All right. All right. There's.
I didn't hear the last, what you just said.
Said we invoke it.
Rebuttal?
No.
All right, I'm left with quite a few questions that weren't answered first and foremost is I have no idea how Dr. Russell became involved with the defendant. Was she personally retained? Was she retained by an attorney as part of a dissolution case? Was it part of the CPT as Dr. Broder was? So she was retained by DCF or the Department of Health or the Sheriff's Office. What was the purpose of her retainment? Was it, again, for a dissolution case? Was she to render some kind of opinion? Was it mental health? Was it occupational? So I have a whole bunch of questions that weren't answered about what was the purpose here and who hired her. More importantly right now, though, is this, Mr. Taylor, I believe in the disclosure or the notice of intent to rely on battered spouse syndrome. Am I correct that Dr. Russell's name is listed?
Off the top of my head, Your Honor, I do not believe so.
All right.
But I additionally would respectfully correct, Your Honor. I asterisked that notice. It is not battered spouse syndrome, but it proceeds similarly.
Okay. So the real crux of my question is, do you intend to call Dr. Russell as a witness in your case?
Respectfully, I do not.
Because I just want to be clear, I'm going to make a ruling based upon the arguments and the evidence I have in front of me. But if we get in the middle of trial and the defense stands up and says, we call our next witness Dr. Barbara Russell, and she has invoked the privilege to avoid the opportunity for the state to question her at a deposition, that is gamesmanship that will not fly for me.
Well, I understand, and I don't wish to engage in gratuitous banter with the court. There's been plenty of legitimate reasons. That would not be my intention, but I would also tell the court, please be mindful of Ms. Benefield's Sixth Amendment right to call witnesses her own behalf. That said, I can't predict how the trial will unfold, but I tell the court as an officer of the court, as I stand before Your Honor now, we have no plans to call Dr. Barbara Russell.
Okay. Let me just look through and see if I have any additional notes or questions. All right, there's one. We had a couple more. I'm not sure which ones were actually noticed, though. Were there any others that were noticed?
I think Your Honor expressed a preference for resolving whatever was outstanding. Perhaps Suzanne will correct me if I'm wrong.
You should know this, Dave. This is the Black Swan case, the case you were supposed to cover before you retired.
I don't know if an actual notice was filed, but I know we cleared time for the 911 motion and limit.
All right, so let's take care of that one. The last one is, and we don't have to hear it today, but I do have a colloquy that I want to have with Ms. Benefield on the request for the paralegal to remain at counsel table for trial. So there'll be a colloquy I want to have on that. All right, I will issue an order.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. May I and my client be excused?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug.
So, now hold on, let me just look real quick. I know I've got a couple hearings at 4. And I know that I didn't start you guys until 3:30. I completely acknowledge that. But I just don't want to, if we're going to take another half hour and I can get these other ones done pretty quickly, I'd kind of like to do that. Do you have time, or do you want to? Sorry, Ms. Benefield, can you step back into the audience? And I want to, Madam Court Reporter, are you packing up? Perfect. You can go ahead and do that now.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, it ends abruptly, to say the
Oh.
least. But
All right.
no, they so we didn't even get the final ruling on his if she had to break doctor-client privilege. But it's up to the defense. They will ruin it if they call her as a witness. Then that's what he said. I don't want you to call her if you want me to keep this up. Hey,
Yeah.
Kim, how we doing?
Hi, Kim. Good to see you.
Can we? Yeah, I'll start at 7:45. It's at 8. I'll start 7:45, 7:50.
You mean 2
Um,
EST? Yeah.
let's see Baker make some tiramisu. Well, I am not I'm not a cook, so I don't do stuff like that. I'm a baker. FD Food Fairy, you came in just in the end.
But
I
isn't
was ready to.
tiramisu a cake?
No, it's a dessert.
Okay.
It's pudding with a layer of sugar on top that you caramelize, and then the Italians gave it a fancy name and said, "Oh, it's no tiramisu. That's the crappy one with where you build it up." Again, it's for pastry chefs. I'm not a pastry chef. I am a baker. There's a big difference in Denmark.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm finding that out when you say there's certain things. So, yeah.
Well, there's a big difference because American bakers and Danish bakers are very much the same. Not the same, too. I was raised on
Yeah.
Britcons, Monty Python, Benny Hill, etc. Love it. Thanks for the covering of this. Well, thank you, Gina Gomez. I remember watching Benny Hill with my grandma when I was a kid. They were naughty. Yes, it was an old status hearing. Hey, Sebastian. Well, thank you, AC. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because I don't know if she done do it wrongly or he was a big a-hole or the entire thing, the entire timeline of them getting together within 13 days, getting married, splitting up, getting back together, have a reverse vasectomy, her getting pregnant, then she moves back to her mom because she had complications with the pregnancy. Then they get the daughter. They are fighting over custody, and then they are going to move to Maryland, and then he ends up with 2 new holes in him. It's such a weird case. And again, we have the alleged spousal abuse from his side as well. So
Mhm.
it's going to be down to what we can prove and what we can't prove. We don't make cheesecakes.
Mhm. I get
No,
the
you
difference
cook
between a
espresso.
cook and a baker, but the types of things you bake, I got you.
A baker. Bread, pastries, stuff like that. A pastry chef makes all the fancy stuff. Like when you think about that weirdo from New Jersey who made all those fancy cakes, that's a pastry chef. Ice creams, those fancy desserts. I can make, like, I did have some classes in it, but we don't work with that. We just make like breads and buns and danishes, all those kind of stuff. Where a pastry chef would be the ones who made the more fanciful stuff.
Mm.
I don't know. No, it's just in Denmark. Normally, to become a pastry chef, you do your 4 years as a baker, and then you do 2 years as a pastry chef because it's again. But you do some pastry chef stuff on the culinary college as well. So we can do everything as a Danish baker. Back when I was an apprentice, you got taught the basics of most things, but you worked in a bakery, so you normally did most. Jesus, you did most bake. I just kicked something over. Well, I have a footrest I just ruined. You do most bread stuff because that's where the bread and butter is. I can do like where you're piping cakes and stuff like that, and I was taught how to make chocolate and stuff like that, but I never used it because we didn't do fancy stuff like that. We had a guy as a pastry chef who did, know where you make those little chocolates with stuff inside them and stuff like that. He was the guy who did that. How about some good sourdough bread? But sourdough bread takes a long time, and I don't make bread for myself, so I don't have a sourdough going. But
Sourdough bread is so delicious.
yeah, well, and it's good for your stomach. There's a lot of good bacteria in it. Yeah, 6 years is to become a pastry. Yeah, I think it's a 2-year build up on the bakery. I never make cheese Danish because I'm not weird. Calm down, Fedorowski. I'm streaming. Any favorites you like to bake? As I've told a lot of people who ask me about it, it depends on what I'm doing. I'm normally, if it's Christmas, I like to do, well, not Christmas, but New Year's. We have a special cake in Denmark that we're doing, and yeah, bundpige med slør. Yeah, we have that too. He just sent me a recipe. But at Christmas, I like to do what's called kransekage. That's a little fancy thing we have in Denmark with a lot of marzipan in it. If I'm having guests over, I like to do our local specialty, what's called brunsviger, which is just like a sweet bread button with a layer of it's brown sugar and marzipan and butter mixed together with some brown sugar on top of it. It's get really yummy. That's our birthday cake where I come from. If I'm having people over for coffee, I like to do what's called medals, which is a short crust dough, and then you put some whipped cream with some raspberry jam and some cake cream, and then another short crust dough, and then you make it a little fancy on top. I like to do those. They're easy and they're good. I like to do what's called hindbærsnitter. I've done that on one of my streams. That's just a short crust dough, raspberry jam, short crust dough, and then some icing and a little bit of sprinkles on top. It's a good cake that's really easy to make and really easy to keep if you're having guests over. So it depends. If I'm baking for the kids to put in their freezer, I like to make pizza buns. It always depends on what you want to bake for. I like to bake, so it depends on what to do it. Cheese Danishes are like Sweden. Hell. Angel food cakes. Don't know what that is. Hey, white paint. $2.50 for a cinnamon donut. It's not good. My grocery store bakery sells them for $4, and yum. They're good. I had one this morning. Well, I don't like those donuts. That's not my kind of things. Yeah.
I don't like yeast donuts. I like cake donuts.
I don't know the difference. We
There's
don't
a
make
big
donuts.
difference.
What kind of Christmas cookies do I make? I never actually make cookies for Christmas. That's something you let the kids and the family make, and then you throw it out because they have their nasty, grubby fingers into it. I like to. We have something called a kleine. That's it's a piece of dough that you twist and then you cook it in oil. They are really good, but when you've been doing that for a lot of Christmases, you kind of hate it, but I love to eat them. The smell is really ugh. A lot of times the bread you can buy in supermarkets today as baked like cinnamon buns and stuff like that is exactly the same product they have in the freezer. You can just buy for a quarter of the price. Go home and make yourself. Good tip. Save the money, and you'll get the smell of fresh made bread in your house. Hey, Holly Moore, haven't seen you in a second. You want something sweet now? Well, you can have Jamie because I'm about to end. Yeah, Hindbærsnitter is kind of like a Pop Tart, just better. I do make cream pies now and again. I never actually had a Black Forest cake, but I made them. How is pastries not covered in baking? Pastries are covered, but it's still called a pastry chef. Don't ask me why. It's you Americans. We call it a conditor. Angel food in US, 2 packets that come in a box and you mix with water. Maybe different somewhere else though. Well, it's probably what Jamie claims when I made these special cakes that's only 2 ingredients. No, you put in a box with 45 different ingredients, most of it artificial. Yeah, but it's good.
That's good.
So
It's only one ingredient, a box of cake mix. I know. We're not gonna
yeah,
have this. We're not gonna have this fight.
I hate Krispy Kreme. I tried that when I was in Switzerland. I really can't stand it. It's so fatty. It's bleh. Well, I'm allowed to. She does that to me all the time. Well, you could instead of doing the Baker Plus, you can just be a pastry chef in Denmark too. But there's so few who works with it, so they don't really have enough apprenticeship, so you can do it. That's why they normally do baking first and then go into the conditor thing. Angel Delight is made with milk. It's nice, not a cake though. Oracle Cat, you can catch the replay. 7. I tried to make a pineapple upside down cake on stream when I got home from the US because I got some nice cherries from FD Food Fairy. It was absolutely horrendous. Legendary Racing got me a WWE cookbook, and they had an upside down pineapple cake recipe in that. It was nasty. It had coconut in it. It was really bad.
Yeah, you ruined everything. Whoever made that recipe ruined it with coconut. Don't put coconut in pineapple upside down cake. Come on.
Yeah. Kristen, it's easy, super easy to start a sourdough, but you need to give it love. You need to touch it every day. As I have said many a time when people are talking about sourdough on my channel, whenever you have guests over, make them put their nasty grubbies into your sourdough because it really likes all the different bacteria.
Oh, you have said
That
that.
feeds it.
That just turns my stomach. Ugh.
What do you think yeast is?
I don't want to think about it though.
You're
I don't
the
wanna-
one of those people who probably, if you found out how they made sausages, you'll say, ugh, and then you'll have a hot dog.
Yes, please. I don't want to know a lot of things.
Yeah.
All I know is it tastes delicious. Can we stop there?
Yeah. Jamie, how are we going to find out what we are going to call my new man?
Do a poll.
Yeah, but I can only do 4 names at a time, and I have a lot of names.
Well, do like do the first however many you can do, and then whoever wins will go on to the next. You can do it that way.
You are so smart, Jamie.
Am I? You can say that again.
Yeah, my mom told me not to lie.
Where are you now, Dave? Like, he's yelling at me about not coming and getting the gifts, but didn't he just say he was on Mackinac Island? He's never home on the weekends.
Everyone, hit the poll. I'm gonna set a short time limit, so we can get it. Get it done. Why do I get? Jesus, it's because I've been in Copenhagen. Now I got an email in Swedish. That's racist.
That's racist.
Do they have food eating competition at state fairs? We don't really have state fairs because we don't have that many states. We don't do eating contests really. I actually, because I love watching Beard Meats Food, so I went in and looked how many of those eating competitions where you can eat something and you'll get something like a shirt and a meal for free. And I think we have 1, maybe 2 things you can do that with in Denmark. It's not really a thing. The only thing we have kind of like Beard Meats Food is a guy who goes around and we call them grill bars. That's where you go and get your hot dog or your French fries or your half seagulls with sticks. That's half a chicken that's roasted. We call that half a seagull, and a beef sandwich and stuff like that. That we call those grill bars. He goes around eating those and then rate them. And he's this big fat slob. And he's kind of internet famous in Denmark for that, but we don't really have those eating things. It's not something we do.
Yeah.
What is the poll for? Is it's to name my new figure that I will use to try and he has a flat ass to show injuries to people instead of drawing it.
We're naming the doll, guys.
You cannot see your own posts. I can see them. I make a great apple cheesecake bar. Well, take out the cheese and it might be good.
Ooh, that sounds good. Apple cheesecake bar.
Well, gonna end the first one, and let's see who won that one.
Oh, don't.
That was
You tied it. Oof.
Stiffy and Horatio goes on. Well, Glenn, Jamie, only 13%.
I know. Where were all our Glenn people?
Well, it's hate.
How can you not have love for Glenn?
Another one. Croissant dough, yeah. Focaccia, pretty good. How do you bake it? Do you bake it in a like a cast iron skillet? Makes it really good. Are those unopened gifts behind you? Yes, all of these are unopened gifts that I have to send out. So anyone who won in my giveaway, please send me an address. I've only gotten 1 address so far I can send stuff to. So if you're not sending it, I'll make another giveaway when hopefully no president in the US is going to ruin my stream. So I'll put up a post, and then by Friday, if people haven't given the address, I'll do another giveaway. No, I don't know how. No. That's what happens. I say stuff that comes to my mind. Sometimes I shouldn't. He's a babe. No ass, though. Well, Woody hasn't been on the voting board. We're going to do all the names until we find one. Dexter is very dexterous. He can move in all kinds of ways.
Hmm.
Have a sheet pan. Yeah, I like a good. I like a good focaccia. Do I have a mailing address? No, because I can't have a PO box in Denmark. So only people like Pernilla who doxed me have my address. Jamie doesn't even have my address.
Yeah, he didn't even give me his address.
No,
Why?
and it's
Haven't really
not because
asked,
I'm
to be
afraid
honest.
you'll stop by. Just ask
Yeah.
Dave. Well,
Don't egg
Proctor
him.
won this one, so that's one. That's nice. A clear vote. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, Dave's never home. He told me the one time he knows I work during the week. And then he says I'm available on Tuesday from 9 to 2. Okay, well, that's not gonna happen then.
Yeah, people don't come by. If anyone is looking to adopt and rescue a 31-year-old American who will cook and clean, please inquire. Can you do law stuff? I know someone who would really love someone to show up and do some law stuff for them. She will probably adopt you. If
Yeah,
you don't want Jamie to stop by, tell her you have gifts for her. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really come running, do I?
As the only one in the world with my name. Yeah, I'm really, really hard to find. Hey, Flux.
Hey, Flux.
Well, I can guarantee. Well, I won't guarantee you Mo won't show up. They will probably someday just stand outside your house and say, "Do you smell like vanilla?"
Yeah, I ain't coming in. It's vanilla. It's about that time. I'm getting ready to. Can't wait to get out my vanilla, Dave. All my pumpkin spice and vanilla. It's his favorite.
Isn't that October?
Yeah, but I run early because I can't wait to get my Halloween stuff out already. Everybody can hate me all they want.
Oh, Pablo, surprise winner. Now it becomes interesting because now an early fan favorite comes into the mix.
Welcome, Donna. Welcome to the cream pies.
Hmm.
I like it all young. I don't like apple cider, but I like the smell of it. I like cinnamon, vanilla, all the caramels.
You heard it here, folk. Jamie loves it all young. Welcome, Donna Graves. Thank you for becoming a member. What does apple cider even smell like?
Like apples and cinnamon.
My mom got on one of those health trips back in the early aughts, drinking apple cider. Then you'll lose weight. No, stop eating, then you'll lose weight. Holly Moore, thank you for being a member for 5 months. I love our BB family. I love you too.
Aw, thanks, Holly.
Pablo Escadal. Like funk, it stinks. Do not go to the store when hungry, and especially while listening to Breaker talking about ice cream and cakes and cookies. Oh, I have ice cream in my freezer, but it's not hot
Yeah.
today, so I don't want to eat it. Apple cider is the best. I use it year round. I don't know what it is. Apple
Well, I
cinnamon
mean,
candles
there's a
smell so
difference
good
between
during the
apple
cold
cider and apple cider vinegar. Apple cider is like cinnamony apple cider drink. Like it's a fall drink.
Why drink anything cider? Cider is bitter.
I don't know. I don't like it.
I knew it. Woody, a big winner in that one. And the last four names in the initial round, because I'm pulling off Jesus. I shouldn't say it like that. I'm crossing out Jesus for the name.
Yeah.
Hmm. And
I'm not really sure how they make apple cider. I just know it's like a fall thing. I like the apple cider donuts. Those are good.
more crisp. That means sour. You only saw the first poll. That's weird. But well, YouTube was acting up today because I was setting up in StreamYard and didn't show up on my YouTube. But I could find it if I searched the other way around. So it's YouTube probably is weird today.
Mhm.
Apple cinnamon cider basically smells the same, but yes, apple cinnamon. You'll get random crap showing up in your mailbox. Yeah, that's the problem. If I can't have a PO box, which we can't in Denmark, and I can rent like a mailbox in a company then that would then ship it to me, but that's in Copenhagen, so I couldn't go and get it, and I will have to pay them to ship it to me. But I could also get an address in Florida by a company over there, but I have everything. I'll have them shipped to me. I have to pay $50 to get shipped over. So it would only be if I knew, okay, there's like a ton of stuff coming in, so it could possibly work that way.
Yeah.
It's for my new victim doll.
I knew the victim doll.
Oh, by the way, someone said, can you do what? This is how Trooper Paul said he was standing when he got hit by the car. And I can do it this way. And this is how Lally said he was standing, because they couldn't even agree on that part. And then he went flying.
Yep.
So how do I get mail? Not by anyone on YouTube's, except Panella, because she doxed me. I actually think she's the only one who sent me. No, Young's. No. Did someone else send me something?
Mm,
No. Dave gave it to me when he was in Denmark. And a big winner on that one too, Monsieur Bender. That's the name of a Danish football player who did a lot of bad stuff. So,
You really did give a lot of names. I didn't realize.
yeah. No, that's not for drawing. This is because I had to show how someone got pew-pewed in the inside of the calf and it went out next to the knee while standing up. So we had defense had an idea that he was kind of like in this position. And that's how she could pew him that way. That's how they ask it. So instead of me drawing it, I thought it's easier to just get a doll. And then I have something to play with. Oh yeah, T-shirt from Danielle. Danielle have my address too.
Oh yeah.
It is really handy. Yep. And I have 2 of them because I always put a permanent marker on them because I'm not that smart.
Oh my God, that was so funny. He wrote his gang sign on the one with a permanent marker and ruined it on stream.
No, it's because he had an entry wound top right side that curved down into the lower left side. And then he had an entry wound going from inside of the calf and out by the knee. So they were, and the trajectory was going up. So they were saying, how the F could that happen? And the defense asked, how about if he fell backwards with his leg twisted to the side so you have a through and through? And the doc said, maybe could possibly, I don't know. But who, you don't go, it's not the movies. When you get a pew, most people don't go flying. Most people kind of collapses or walks around for a bit. And he was alive after, so yeah.
Yep.
2. Yeah, two. And one of them actually hit down by the floorboard. So the trajectory is going to be interesting. Stiffy won that one. Wonder why a word like stiffy would win on this channel.
I wonder.
Yeah. I'm not saying degeneracy, but oh, this is only 2 names.
I'm not shocked.
Well, we'll toss. Yeah, if we put. What? Did I miss something? No. We're down to 3 names. We're gonna.
So this is the last one.
This is the last and final one.
All right, everybody. You hear that? Last and final one. Vote. You didn't win yet, Sean. There's one more round.
No, I won't spike the poll by putting C-Man in there.
That was so funny. He said, "Is it semen?" It's Simon. Like, okay.
In general, yeah. I have a mailbox outside of my house, and then if I get parcels, I have because I don't want them to deliver them at the house because they always F it up. So we have like a satellite station within 5 minutes from my house where we have 2 of those where they can just put it into a box, and I have an app so I can open that. It's like, yeah. Well, we do have a combined mail service with Sweden, so yeah. See you, Helen. Be back at 8 o'clock. Yeah, you really have to make sure you don't mispronounce it. Baker. What? Oh, Stiffy Simon. Yeah, we don't have a post office. We have to go to Furtex if we want to mail something out. They take care of it now. It's because more people joins, so the number of votes gets different. See you later. We all did Bluetooth packaging racks placed in the neighborhoods. Yeah, we do have those as well. I used to deliver furniture for a furniture company. I might have hit a few things. I'm not that great at riding a truck. Well, get some more coffee. We will soon have a 2-hour break, so you can get some cafe. Okay, everyone. The poll is saying, what will the new name be? I'm surprised. I thought Woody would have it, but it'll now be Bender.
That's cute.
So we got to name him today. Thank you all so much for participating, and thank you for not letting Sean Bird win, so he would be gloating all the day long. So, Jamie, we'll be back in 2 hours.
Yep.
The rest of you, hope you'll join us in 2 hours, where we'll go over the hearing in the Karen Reed case. I will make a small prediction. She'll punt it down the road, and nothing really is going to happen.
Yeah.
That's my prediction of what will come from today's hearing. It'll be interesting if we're going to hear from that Weinberg.
Oh yeah,
Weinberg. Yes. If he is going to be the one leading today, so we can figure out what why can't I think now? What happens with all these jurors? Apparently, another jury have appeared, talked to a journalist who was in court, who can confirm it was a deliberating juror, confirming the 1+3 not guilty. So it's going to be very interesting. I haven't seen any motions filed, but it was what she claimed.
Yeah.
That she had talked to a juror. She knew it was a deliberating juror. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And I'm going to chuck you somewhere else. Please come back. Why don't you come back? No, that's not how. I can't remember the song. Dee I'm sure Bev will pee off many today. Just get ready. Exactly. Do we have homeless people? Like how many, roughly? I don't have any here. But yes, Copenhagen, a lot of, well, not a lot. Yes, we have a lot of Eastern Europeans who come up here to beg and do stuff like that. They live on the street. We have a lot of drug addicts as well. So yes, we do have a problem with homeless people as well. A lot of veterans too who moves out to and lives in the forest because of their PTSD. So we do have
Really?
stuff like that. Yeah, it's actually, well, it's not a big thing, but we have a lot of veterans. We call them like wild men courses where you can go out in nature and get away from everything, and just because one of the things as a soldier, what to do is the survival thing. So being out there, working with other people, taking your mind off bad stuff that really appears when you're sitting alone in an apartment is really good for you. We have found it really helps as a form of therapy. We have a lot of that because a lot of therapy is turned towards women, because it's a lot of talk, it's a lot of emotion, and if you've been a soldier, you're not really that talkative and you're really not that emotional. So a lot of the therapies they had in the beginning, when I was my psych evaluations was 400 men in an auditorium where they ask, if anyone wants to talk to the shrink, raise your hand right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. But they found out a lot of this speech, or what would you call it, like conversation therapy, didn't work, because you don't have some therapist doesn't understand what it is that's wrong with you. They don't understand why you are afraid of a lawn. They don't understand why you don't like that there's a old cardboard box right next to the road. How that can really blow your mind off. So they found out doing these where they go into a wood and stay there for a week and put up a tent and live off the land is really good, because then you're talking through with people who know what you're saying when you say, yeah, I really don't like fireworks and stuff like that. So we have a lot of that. That's our therapy in it. So yeah. I went downtown Copenhagen and also into those woods, and it did have a lot of homeless people compared to other parts of Europe I saw. But Americans, all we know, issues are relative. Well, I would say go to Switzerland. They have a whole lot of them. But it's an increasing problem. Go to Rome. Rome is probably the worst place I have ever seen. And there's a lot of crime going on. So, yeah. Jamie, I'm going to end it now before we get into another conversation. I need my food.
Okay.
Ciao.
Hi, guys. Come back.
Bye. Bye.
What exhibit are you referring to? I'm going to make this 100, Your Honor. All right. 100.
100.
Because it is 100%
100%.
correct.
Objection, Your Honor.
So you literally built a cannon?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
All
right, I'm in love.
Go back. Please do that again. Oh, that was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
While I'm waiting for this, did you, whether it's true or not, believe that Mr. Randolph had slept with your wife?
I wouldn't have cared.
You wouldn't have cared?
No.
Did you believe he had slept with your wife?
No.
Did you believe he slept with your mother-in-law?
Probably did. Everybody has.
So there.
Everybody has.